How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You are looking really cute today, so I want people to go to the
Thanks.
YouTube video, but don't look at me, only look at Sammy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love people who gas me up. So thank
Hell
you
yeah.
guys.
Anything new with you?
No, nothing new. Just school,
Okay.
work. That's about it. Anything new with you?
Um, I don't know about Nunu. I don't remember if I updated you with the work thing because they were trying to make me work overnight again. Um,
Okay.
but things ended up working to where I'm actually going to get a better shift now. So work is still very good.
Good.
Um, this past Tuesday, I had like a little like cool like this is a cool little activity moment. This
Okay.
past Tuesday, okay. So you've mentioned it in the podcast before that whenever I was DJing right on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
I had like this person reach out to me that was like, "Hey, like, can you do a video with like this one song?" And so it was like this woman's manager, which is her girlfriend, right, had
Mm-hmm.
reached out. Was like, hey, like her girlfriend sings cumbia and is like doing some really cool shit. They're from San Antonio, and she was
Okay.
like, hey, can you like do a mix with this song, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, yeah, blah, 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 did it, and that was like in February of last year, right? So over a year,
Okay.
and I've kind of kept in touch with the girl that reached out to me. Her name is Mary, but
Hey,
kind of
Mary.
kept it. Hi, Mary. They do listen, so shout out to Mary and Alicia. Thank you for listening.
Hi. Shout out,
I'm gonna
shout
have both
out.
of them. Yeah, I'm gonna have both of them on one day. Um, but she reached out to me like a few weeks ago and was like, "Hey, like, so she is in a film that is like doing film festivals, right? And so they launched at like South by Southwest, which is in Austin, which is like a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone to different film festivals like San Diego, I think Milwaukee. I don't want to say that's wrong, but they were in Dallas, right? And so she
Okay.
was like, "Hey, like, do you guys want to go? Do me and Gabby want to go, right?" And so we were like, "Hell yeah!" So Tuesday we went to like their to see their film
Okay.
at like a movie theater in Dallas, right? And I
Okay.
met her. She's totally cool. Like I might upload those pictures on Instagram.
Okay.
But I was talking to her and I was like, "So what's your role in this film?" Because I thought that she was like a producer for this film, right?
Okay.
So she's like, "I guess I can say I'm the protagonist. Like the film is based off of her, basically, okay?"
Okay.
So, trigger warning, sexual assault.
Okay.
The film is a documentary about the mishandling of sexual assault cases by Austin Police Department and Travis County, which is the county where Austin is here in
Okay.
Texas, right?
Okay.
And so it's this film of a total of 17 plaintiffs that are suing Austin PD and Travis County because of the way that they handle their sexual assault cases, because basically they did not do anything with their sexual assault cases, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
So some of these stories, you have people that have like straight up evidence of their sexual assault,
Mm-hmm.
and like the county just said we're not going to do anything about this, basically, right? um and so Mary ends up being like plaintiff number one because her case was like from 15 years ago, and she was actually kidnapped and raped and the police did nothing about it, right?
Whoa.
So
Can I pause? Pause.
yeah.
Is her name supposed to remain anonymous?
No.
Okay.
So in the
Okay.
film they actually end up saying her name.
Okay. Okay.
um
I was like,
but no, 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 no. So it's all good, but the film is called An Army of Women.
ooh,
um
I love that.
so they're still doing different film festivals and whatnot, so like definitely I like I
Where
would
can
love
we
for everybody
watch?
to right. So they do have like a website, an army of women.film, right?
Okay.
Where they'll say like where they're doing, and they're trying to get picked up by a streaming platform.
Okay.
So if they do, we'll definitely let everybody know because it's a very like well shot documentary. Tears,
Yeah.
um, it's a happy ending documentary, which a lot
Oh,
of
good.
documentaries are not. But it was really cool to be able to meet her and her girlfriend and like watch this film, and it was just really like powerful and like eye opening, and like they're out here like making change. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it was just really cool to actually be like, oh, like I know this person, and like they're like going through this, and like it was just really powerful. It was really good. So I just want to say again, shout out to Mary and Alicia, because they were like, hey, we listened to your podcast on the way up here, and I was like, shout out, thanks.
Shout
um
out. Woo
but yeah,
woo.
can't wait to just have you guys on the podcast to talk about like the music and just like the producer and whatnot, like producing life and whatnot, and just
So,
really
just to
excited.
clarify, Mary is the one
Hmm.
that's in the film. Alicia is the one who
Yes,
sings the cumbias.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do we have
So they're a
Alicia's
badass
name?
couple. Alicia C.
No, but like for the cumbias, it's just Alicia
It's
C.
just Alicia C. Yeah,
Okay.
like the
Maybe,
letter C.
maybe we can
Mm-hmm.
upload your mix to Aquí Soñamos like
Mm-hmm.
website, or not the
Mm-hmm. Like
website,
our
but like
socials. Yeah,
our IG, and be like, hey,
yeah,
go give her a shout out, and Mary
yeah,
too, if you have something from her film. I think that'd be cool.
yeah.
Latinas
So
supporting
yeah,
Latinas.
absolutely. So it was really cool. Um, well, yeah. So anything else we want to talk about before we jump in?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. So today's topic is
Self care.
self care and mental health, which is part of self care, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
100%.
are we in Mental Health Awareness Month, or did it just end? Something. Let me see here. Mental
I
Health
think it's
Awareness
June. No, I think it
Month.
might
No, it's
May.
it's May. May. Yeah.
May.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
look at that. A timely recording to self care and mental health.
It was
Um,
planned, guys. It was planned.
was absolutely planned. This was not decided 2 days ago. This has been planned since December. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
um, which the topic of mental health is something that is definitely like um can be a more serious topic, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to touch on like self care
Mm-hmm.
first.
Okay.
Um, Self care is something that you have mentioned that you are very big on with your
Very
spa
big.
days, your Disney days, and whatnot, right?
Yes.
So I guess I fully believe you know more and do more of this than I do. So
Mm-hmm.
when do you feel like you started really paying attention to self care? What does it mean to you, and how do you do it?
So I started really focusing self-care just a year ago. It's when
Hmm.
I was feeling really overwhelmed and overworked. I was in my master's program, working full time, going to school full time, and then also interning for 20 hours a week. So I had very little time for myself, and the time that I did, I felt like I was either sleeping or
Hmm.
not doing anything and just like freaking
Yeah.
out.
Hmm.
And so I started to get like really tense, and I experienced a lot of like burnout. And so I kind of just took it upon myself to do, in my class, we were talking about like self-care, and I was like, I want to start implementing like something once a day,
Hmm.
right? Just
Hmm.
to get me started, just to get me comfortable and like putting myself as a
Okay.
priority.
Hmm.
And so it was like I would do one small thing for me every day.
Okay.
Whether that was going to the gym, sometimes I would go eat ice cream, sometimes I would
Hmm.
go like just spend an additional 10, 15 minutes outside.
Hmm.
Kind of just like taking time for me.
Okay.
That was a big thing that I implemented in the beginning. Now
Hmm.
my self-care looks a little bit different. I do something at least once a week. I try
Okay.
to. And I don't use the gym as a self-care. I use the gym as more of like bettering myself in as a whole.
Okay.
I try to like at least once a week do something for me, whether that's going
Mhm.
out to dinner by myself. Yes, I go out to
Mhm.
dinner by myself.
Love
Um,
it. Mhm.
I have
I love going to the movies by myself. So,
I
like,
can't, I don't like going to the movies with someone else, and I definitely don't like it going by myself because it's just
so you just don't go. It's okay.
I don't. I really don't. But I'll go
It's
see
nice to
Mary's
know.
movie.
It's nice to know that when we went to the movies together, you hated that, but it's okay.
When did we go? Girl, that was like 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't even remember.
Something like that.
It's crazy how
Okay,
you hold
so
on to things.
speechless.
Um,
So dinner by yourself.
so dinner by myself, or I go get my nails done. I've gotten back into the swing of
Hmm.
that. Um, I kind of also like a daily thing that I do for myself is I do my makeup. Like I actually put an effort to like get ready for the day
Okay.
because I feel
Okay.
like that switches like my mentality, you know?
From what to
Because
what?
like I don't know, I feel like when you look good, you feel good, you know?
Hmm.
And so taking the extra
Okay.
time to like put in that effort, I think
Hmm.
really
To yourself, yeah.
changes, yeah, it
Hmm.
changes the vibe for the
Hmm.
day. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you feel has been different since you started putting in some self care? Because sometimes it can be like, oh, I'm going to do the self care thing, but like, I don't feel or see any difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you reflect on your self care, how do you feel like it's changed, like, or impacted your life?
I think it puts me in a better mood for one,
Hmm.
and it like the whole let's be real here, right? Okay, so I have been overwhelmed these past 2 weeks, to say the least, right? I think it's actually been these past 3 to 4 months, and I've taken like little moments to ground myself and to like take care of myself and things like that. But like I really just want to get away, right? And like not have responsibilities for a day or two. And yesterday when I went to go get my nails done, I was like, I'm gonna just enjoy it. I'm not going to like check my phone or like text people back. I'm gonna sit here on this chair, get my nails done, get I got a pedicure and acrylics. And I'm just gonna enjoy it, right? I had the massage on, and it's just like allowing myself to not be bothered by other people and like allowing myself to like ground myself. It allows me to take on other things, you know? It gives me like that little space, right? So if I'm at my capacity and I do something to like ground myself or like take care of myself, then that capacity, like I'm not at my capacity anymore, right? And so if I do something consistently, like
Hmm.
for the whole weekend, I just choose not to have responsibilities, which is impossible
Right.
right now.
Hmm.
If I do that, then I'll be good to go. Yeah. It just gives me the space to take on or
So,
to continue to do what I need to do.
yeah, yeah. So it just internally makes you feel better, like, and like, okay, I can maybe take on this day versus if you didn't do anything for yourself, it's like, this isn't gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do you feel are like easy ways to start self care? Because I, I know about self care, right? I
Mhm.
can't really like pinpoint things that I do in my
Mhm.
life, daily or weekly, that
Okay.
are self care. But I know that I'm somebody who personally would love to just like, I guess, let's say, write affirmations, right?
Mhm.
Or do the whole thing where you like tell yourself something positive in the mirror, right?
Mhm.
But what do you feel like are some good ways to start self caring?
Um, you could do well, 'cause you have a child, so it might be a little bit harder to take some time away,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But on your way to work, tell yourself something good. Tell yourself something good that happened in the morning, right? Remind
Mhm.
yourself of the gratitude that you have for your life, right? Or the
Mhm.
blessings, and not to be
Mhm.
religious, but like of the
Yeah,
blessings
yeah,
that you
yeah.
have, reminding yourself of the
Mhm.
things that you are capable of and that you have
Mhm.
achieved. I think taking those small little moments to just be thankful for you and what you've done is
Mhm.
important and can be a start to self-care before
Mhm.
actually doing something.
Mhm.
As far as like the affirmations, there's like there's like an affirmation calendar that you can get, and you could just every day just pull one.
Mhm.
And
Flip a
that
page,
that
yeah.
also helps, right? But it's not doing something like no estás haciendo algo que es más trabajo, ¿verdad? No, la única cosa que
Mhm.
necesitas hacer is just go buy the fucking calendar and then
Yeah,
just
yeah,
put it
yeah.
on your desk at work. It's not like you have
Mhm.
to sit there and like write them out, you know?
You're not really putting any energy towards
No. But
yourself.
you're giving yourself the opportunity to reflect on the things that you've done and the things that
Mhm.
have made you you, to remind yourself that like you are where you need to be, and like
Mhm.
that, like grounding
Mhm.
yourself. You get me?
Mhm. I get you. You said this has nothing to do with self-care, right? But sidebar, you're like reminding yourself that you are where you need to be, and I feel like that's hard to like I don't want to say like super hard for me to because like okay, I don't want to say it's like something I struggle with daily, right? But the whole like you are where you need to be is like I don't know if I am where I need to be, right? So
Same.
I feel like it's having appreciation for where you are,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like you may not be where you need to be, but you're not where you were, right? You're here right now, so it's like also just appreciation. I feel like that's part of self care, right? Not focusing about where you're not and where you're trying to go, right? About living in the moment and really
Mhm.
appreciating what you have, like right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
think yes, but I don't. Okay, I don't like the. I don't like the pressure of like where I'm supposed to be. I don't.
Right.
It, listen, I struggle with it all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look at the people in my life and I see that they're, starting families, getting married, doing all of that wonderful stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, I'm a single Pringle. I I'm still in school, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at that and I'm like this isn't what I had envisioned for myself, right? I thought that I
Mm-hmm.
was going to be done with school and I was going to, have my own practice by now and like doing all of these things. And so like sometimes I have to remind myself that I can't hold on to those expectations
Mm-hmm.
or like the
Mm-hmm.
expectations of others, because it ends
Mm-hmm.
up like really messing with my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and taking the moments of like self-care and like gratitude to say like, even though this isn't the life that I pictured, it's the life that I'm in
Mm-hmm.
love with, right? Like reminding
Mm.
myself that this is the life that I wanted and this is the life that I
Mm-hmm.
want, and that I'm going to continue to fight for, because I feel like I am where I need to be, even though sometimes I forget it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm on the right path. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm. I have a question
Okay.
because
I hope I have an
you've
answer.
you've done school. You've done school like high school, bachelor's, right, master's, PhD. So
High
what?
school, AA, BA,
Right, but you still
MS.
you haven't taken like a 5 year gap, right?
No.
So you mentioned that by now you thought you'd have your own practice, but what has been
Yeah.
different? Like what? Like could you have even had your own practice by now? Like, well, because you haven't prolonged school, like you haven't delayed school.
I think the path that I chose for school took me a little bit longer. That's what I'm gonna say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think delayed me a little bit. And then I also think that choosing the online program that I chose for my master's also delayed me a little
Mm-hmm.
bit longer. Because a lot of the people that I knew who were going to school in person, they finished their program within like a year and a half, and it took me
Mm-hmm.
3 years to do mine.
Your master's.
Um, my master's, yeah.
Okay.
So I think that
So, hmm hmm
that's where,
that's where you feel like it delayed you from having your own practice right now.
yeah, because I mean, not in the state of California, but like I know in the state of Texas, I could have my
Mm-hmm.
own practice as an associate counselor. But in
Oh,
California, I
okay.
can't. I don't think I can.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I also think for me, I thought that I would have my own place to have my own practice. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that delay comes from like finances and stuff, you know?
That's I
Because
feel like that
California,
delay comes from California.
yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think it's necessarily the finances. It's
Yeah.
California, but why do you feel, or and maybe it's not that you feel like this, and maybe my statistics are wrong, but do you feel like there you go? Do you feel like self care has become a lot more of a talked about topic within these past few years? Why?
Yes. I think it's because it's the whole acceptance of mental health and the acceptance of
Okay.
like, it's okay to not be okay type of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
if we're looking at like past generations, this is where I get like super nerdy. But like we look at past generations and there wasn't really ever a conversation about mental health and mental
Mm-hmm.
awareness, right? That
Mm-hmm.
didn't start happening until around the pandemic. That's when we started to really say, millennials and Gen Zers and everybody. That's when they were like, no, we need to talk about this. It's okay to be up in the
Mm-hmm.
open. There shouldn't be shame in like feeling inadequate or like feeling like you can't get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And creating that community, that safe space for those people, I think really started the conversation of like, here's ways that we can combat that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Daily. And then so it's like self-care, mental health, community services. At my current location, we have these people, they're called promotoras, and they basically
Okay.
go out to the community and they talk to individuals about the services that we have
Mm-hmm.
providing mental health. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not like, yes, that was something that I think had been going on for a while, but I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
people started listening until very recently, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's a lot of the younger generation that's like asking for these therapy services,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that the older generation is getting a little bit more comfortable with talking about those things.
Mm-hmm.
Am I seeing like an influx of like older people attending therapy? Absolutely not. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that within my family at least, there's that possibility of being a little bit more open and having those conversations. And hopefully in a positive way. Sometimes it's not always so
Mm-hmm. Right.
positive, you
Right.
know? Like self I don't know how my dad would feel about this, but I'm gonna say it. So like
Okay.
my dad has this thing with like time, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, like, what the heck? And he's like, no, we have to get there 20 minutes early. But like, he'll be like, okay, the party starts at 7:30, but we have to
Uh-huh.
be out of the house by 7:10. So like that we get there and we have this. Or like he'll be like, we have to get out of the house by 7 o'clock. So we get there by 7:10 and then we have
Uh-huh.
20 minutes to just chill. And I'm like,
Okay.
dude, like you're a little anxious right now. And
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what's going on? And then he's like, I'm not anxious. Be quiet. Stop it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so like I had told him that, at least the
Mm-hmm.
last year several times. And then
Mm-hmm.
when we went to go do our taxes this year, he had like brought it up to our tax person and then he was like, yeah, she always says, and he's like pointing at me. And then he was like, she
Uh-huh.
always says that I have like anxiety with time. I don't get it, but like that's her thing. I was like, bruh. Um,
The
so
real
like,
question is,
hmm
was he filing taxes super early? Like, was he super
yeah,
early with that as well?
yeah, like, yeah, we're early when it comes to that. But yeah, it's
So,
funny.
what would you tell somebody who's like still scared of seeking help?
I think they need to start small. I think it
Mhm.
needs to be with a friend first.
Mhm.
I think you have to, okay, this is what happens, I feel, a lot of the times when it comes to receiving therapy services is people
Mhm.
feel like there has to be, like, there doesn't have to be a connection with your therapist. And I don't think that
Okay.
that's true. I think that
Okay. Okay.
in order for the therapeutic relationship to work, you have to feel like you can talk to your therapist about anything, right? Because
You're
that's our
comfortable with
job.
them. Mhm.
And so what I think happens is people go into therapy and then they have one or two sessions with their therapist and then they're
Mhm.
like, I don't think I need this. But it's because they don't feel a connection to their therapist. And instead of looking for
Mhm.
another one, they just give up,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And sorry, my nose is bugging me.
Mhm. Good.
I think that's where like people need to change their mentality
Mhm.
and continue to look for somebody that fits within their scope, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because if you don't feel comfortable enough to speak to your therapist, then you're never going to get anything from therapy, right?
Okay. Mhm.
I also think so that's one thing, right?
Mhm.
I also think having like just that honest conversation with your friends of like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I'm struggling right now and I want to
Mhm.
reach out to somebody, but I don't know where to go." And then
Okay.
like you in your community of friends, you guys look for places together or like they help you make a call or something because like at least in the city in LA County, the shout out to
Mhm.
LA County, I think this is something that's very beneficial. And I hope other counties do it too. I'm not 100% sure if they do, but in LA County specifically, you can call the number 211,
Mhm.
my LA County residents 211, and they will provide you with connections or like referrals to mental health services.
Mhm.
And so like you can call that number and be like, "Hi, I'm looking for individual counseling." And then they'll be like, "Okay,
Mhm.
how old are you? Are there any like traumas specifically that you want to work through or anything like that?" And then you can say like yes or no or
Mhm.
whatever. And then they'll be like, "Okay,
Mhm.
give me your email and then I'll send you the referrals."
Okay.
And they just send them. And then you
Right.
call the places and you check for their availability and then you go from there.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Mhm.
really nice. I need to see. I was trying to see if like where I live has something like that, but it started giving me full numbers. Um. Okay. What about for people that cannot afford? I'm guessing those services
Our
from
community
211
resources.
are free.
Yeah.
Okay. So find the probably through the state or city the
The
free
county.
assistance, the
Yeah.
county. Okay.
Yeah, there's assistance through that. Also, Medi-Cal is also pushing to get approved for therapy services. It might not be a
Mhm.
lot. I think it's like 6 to 10 sessions, but it's a great
Mhm.
start. And then your therapist can also then connect you to community resources as well.
Okay.
Should you ask them for them?
Mhm. Not that like you would know the answer for this,
Okay.
but one, do you know when LA County started doing that? And two, since it's probably not something that every county has, like, do you feel like LA County felt the need to do that because they were seeing a lot of cases of like mental health situations? Like, what makes you feel like led to LA County having these services?
I think it's because so we have a Department of Mental Health here in LA.
Mhm.
And I think it was because they got such an influx of individuals, and then
Okay.
the pandemic started
Mhm.
raising the awareness. I
Mhm.
think LA County saw that there was a need,
Mhm.
and so that's where they were like, okay, let's really push this 211
Mhm.
entity to get you connected to services that you might need. And like
Okay.
even now, like there are still like I'll meet with like families and clients and stuff, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna call 211, and they're like, oh, what's 211? And I was like, oh, it's a great place where you could get connected to like other
Mm-hmm.
services. Should I leave, or should you terminate services? Like this is always a good jumping place to start because they'll hand you
Okay.
referrals. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like we're pushing it out there too, like okay,
Right.
211.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's what I think it
What?
was. It was just the
What?
influx of like people wanting the services and
Uh-huh.
like easing the pressure of DMH because DMH, like the Department of
What's
Mental Health,
okay?
they're impacted. Like I interviewed for
Mm-hmm.
them when I
Mm-hmm.
finished school, and they were like, "Oh, you're gonna have like 30 cases most likely, and then
Wow.
we'll go from there." Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" Yeah,
Wow. How
yeah.
do you, sidebar, how do you not get like affected with the stuff, with the cases that you have?
I do,
Mm-hmm.
I do. Um, to say that I don't would be a complete lie.
Okay.
But what I thoroughly enjoy about my job, shout out to my job. I don't know if I could say their name on here, but like shout out to Para los Niños. Um, they they really provide an environment that's like supportive
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to like the public services departments,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we have like individual supervision, so that's where I meet directly with my supervisor to discuss
Mm-hmm.
whatever's happening in my cases and like any emotions that I might be feeling towards my cases. And
Mm-hmm.
then we also have a group supervision, so that's where us as a team we come together to discuss any of like the situations that we might have in
Mm-hmm.
regards to my team or like in regards to our clients. And so like having those supportive services. Shout out to FP, that's my team. Um, Having those supportive services, I think, is like super helpful. And then also just
Okay.
me myself attending, self-disclosing here, attending, counseling for me
Mm-hmm.
as an
Mm-hmm.
individual also helps me because like when I really feel overwhelmed and triggered by a client,
Mm-hmm.
or just like upset with the client and knowing that I can't do anything to change the situation,
Mm-hmm.
having the space for myself to talk to somebody is really helpful.
Do you feel like within your job line that you need to have like counseling for yourself?
I think it helps, especially in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
I think because in the beginning, everything is new to you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, you're experiencing it for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the first few years, I think it's good to have a clinician or like a therapist of your own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like after that, you don't really need one unless like there's something that's like really bothering you.
Do you
Then
feel like you can handle like the stuff that you go through? You're saying
yeah,
afterwards you don't really need it, so you feel like you have enough tools in your
yeah,
toolbox to handle what you go through.
yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I think um knock on wood, I haven't had anything super super crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I'm thankful for that. Um but yeah, I think I would be able to have the tools to cope with some of the stress at a later
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yes.
And I still have the
So.
support of like my
Mm-hmm.
team and stuff too, so that
Mm-hmm.
helps a lot.
What would you say? So we can kind of transition after this to like more mental health. Okay.
Okay.
Um. What would you say to somebody that doesn't see the value in self care, doesn't think it's necessary, like just sees it as like, oh, that's something that those Gen Xers or is it millennials are talking about. Like, so what would you say to somebody that's just like self care isn't an actual thing that you need? Like, it's
I think so. Obviously, we're talking about older generations. Um,
I mean, it could no, it could be people in our generations that were raised by those
Well,
previous
yeah,
generations. You know what I mean?
but I also think that the people in our generation is like, even if we don't really believe in it, we still take the opportunity to try it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not completely against it. I feel
Okay.
like with older generations, that machismo energy, and
Mm-hmm.
like, the strong will, no emotions, get it done no matter what attitude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, with them, I think it's is breaking it down and
Mm-hmm.
like kind of forcing them to take the time. Like, I will say, like, with my parents, my parents aren't old. They're
Mm-hmm.
a crisp 50.
Hell yeah.
Like they're a fresh 50. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so like
Fresh,
with
fresh. And you were getting on to me about saying low 50s, like a low age range, and you're saying fresh 50s.
cuz they are a fresh
When I
50. What do you
when I
mean?
said in a previous episode, I was like, oh, like they're in their early 50s or low 50s. And you were like, you and your sayings. It totally makes sense.
Yes,
But
you
go
and your
ahead.
sayings. Who says low 50s? Who says that?
A lot of people that I know.
Absolutely not. You're lying. You're lying to yourself and the listeners, okay?
Okay,
Like,
okay, your
don't
parents
even.
are fresh, crisp 50. Go ahead.
50, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like when we were younger, like my mom and my dad, they would do like date nights every night,
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
night. And like,
Damn.
oh, not, I'm sorry, not every night, every week. My
I was about
bad.
to say.
They would like go out and like go have dinner without the
Mm-hmm.
kids and like
Mm-hmm.
just do that. And I think for them, that was like a piece of like self-care. They
Right.
didn't recognize it
For
as
their
that.
marriage or individual.
So I don't think they recognized it as like self-care, but
Mm-hmm.
it was. That was their way to take care of themselves and to like recenter themselves, not just as a couple, but also as like individuals, right? Where
Okay.
they didn't have to worry about the responsibilities or like taking care of the kids or taking care of the
Mm-hmm.
house. They were
Mm-hmm.
able to just be themselves together,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like now my mom too, she'll be like, I want to go to like, cause we have the Disney pass, right?
Right.
And she'll be like, I want to go to Disneyland on this day. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
move my clients so like that we can see them on this day. And I'm like, or we
Mm-hmm.
could go that day. And I'm like,
Right.
perfecto, me encanta, right? That's self-care, right? She's taking the time
Mm-hmm.
to say like, during this time
I'm
frame,
doing this, yeah, and this is when it's happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then my
Yeah.
dad's self-care is a little bit different. He's really like taken up bowling.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love
um,
it.
he does bowling twice a week, and that's his way to
Okay.
like just chill, reset,
Be
not have to
him.
worry
Yeah.
about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, except his
I
knee
love
busted.
that.
Shout
I
out,
wish.
pops.
Yeah. um. I wish that like I could explain how my parents self care, which my parents are just a little bit older than yours. My mom just turned 57. Shout
Woohoo!
out, right? Um, my dad's just a year behind her, but my mom, I do wonder. I think my mom's self care is the kitchen. I think she like I don't think she absolutely loves cooking, right?
Hmm.
And being able to cook for her family and whatnot. I do know that she says that like after my sister and I graduated high school and like moved out the house and whatnot, even though we moved out the house like 10 years later, um, after my sister and I were gone from the house, she says that she has entered like such chapter of her life of like peace and like nothing's gonna bother her and like she's just looking out for her and her husband and whatnot, right? Which is
Hmm.
really good. And then my dad is, of that generation where I'm gonna have three jobs to provide for my family. Like it's work, 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 right?
Yeah.
And even recently, so as much as I and my sister love Disney, my dad loves Disney as well, right?
Hmm.
And we're planning a trip. in November, right? To go to Disney World and whatnot. And he recently started a new job that he's been working a lot, and he's like the only person in his department, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and his boss came to him the other day and was like, "Hey, like you're doing so great. Like I know you said you need some help. Like find somebody that you want to hire. We'll bring them on, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was like, "Oh, like that's so good to hear because like my family's planning this trip to Disney and like he didn't know if he was going to be able to go because he had to work, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And his boss, shout out to his boss, was like, absolutely not. Like this job does not come before your family. Like you tell me when you need the time off and you go, right? But
Mm-hmm.
my dad's not the type to like be the first one to say, "Hey, I need this time off." Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only person in this department, so that's going to be a you problem, you know what I mean? My
Mm-hmm.
dad is very much, this is my responsibility. I have to
Yeah.
take care of this no matter what, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like my dad has really entered the mind space of self care. I can't
Mm-hmm.
really say what he does for self care, but it is it is always interesting to see the difference between like our parents' generations and our generation,
Yeah.
and just seeing like not only just how life has changed. Obviously, like people complain about the cost of living and whatnot, the differences, but just like internally and mentally, all the changes that have happened between like our
Yeah.
parents' generations and ours. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think it's also just like allowing that self-expression. I think is really
Mhm.
big too.
Mhm.
Um, whether they self-express, like, because I used to have a hard time, not gonna lie, like expressing myself, right? And
Mhm.
because I would always put others' needs before my own,
Mhm.
right? Especially in like romantic relationships and friendships,
Right.
right? I was
Right.
always the friend that never had problems, and everybody came
Right.
to me,
I'm always happy. Like I'm good.
yeah,
Mhm.
and giving myself the space to say like, today I'm not okay, or like,
Mhm.
today I'm mad, or today I'm
Mhm.
this or
Mhm.
that, right? Like,
I can't be here for you today.
yes, like
Yeah.
setting that up, I think makes a big difference and is part of
Mhm.
that self-care. But like, I wasn't able to do that all of the time, right? There were
Mhm.
moments where I couldn't say it out loud, right? But
Mhm. Mhm.
instead of like just holding it in, I would write it, right?
Mhm.
Or I used to do this thing where like I would do voice notes on my Samsung
Okay.
notes and then be like,
Mhm.
I'm so fucking mad and I don't know why I'm fucking mad and fuck this and da 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 and
Really?
yeah. And like and it was just to vent, right? And
Right. It was
just
just
to
to
let
get it
it
out.
go. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I felt like I didn't want to burden somebody else with my issues and my drama,
Mm.
and so
Mhm.
I kept it in. And then
Right.
it wasn't until very recently
Mhm.
um that I was like, no, like if I'm creating the space for that individual should
Mhm.
also create the space for me. And if that
Absolutely. Mhm.
individual isn't creating the space for me, then that
Mhm.
individual should not be in my life. You
Okay.
know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um and
Is
so
that something you would
allowing
tell these people?
what do you mean?
Like okay, for example, me, right? If I'm always using you to vent and you're helping me with
Yeah.
stuff, right? But I'm
Mhm.
not helping you, would
Mhm.
you come to me and approach me
Yes.
and tell me, "Hey, I need you to be more like there for
Mhm.
me."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yes.
got you.
100%.
Okay.
Even with Jasmine,
Mhm.
like, Jasmine and Des, right? Jasmine was
Mhm.
our first guest. Shout out Jasmine.
Shout out.
Um, she had told me too, like, I just come to you for stuff. And she's like, and I want you
Uh-huh.
to tell me stuff. And I'm like,
Okay. So she was trying to pull it from you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And she's like, just like talk to me or whatever. And then so like,
Mhm.
I do, I do talk to her about things.
Mhm.
Um, especially like when it comes to dating and stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
um, And so like I am expressive with her a lot.
Mhm.
And that again that was like something that changed recently as well within our
Mhm.
friendship dynamic. Because it wasn't like that before. Yeah.
You know, you saying this, I feel like you and I are very similar in that I would always try to be the happy person, right?
Mhm.
For my friends to go to, like, hey, like, always check up on you. What's Hey, how you doing? What's wrong? You can get through this. Like, don't give up, blah 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 blah, right? And I don't know if there has been like a full change, but I will say that for some reason you are like a person that I just tell everything to,
Mhm.
um, and it's 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 not that I ever like feel weak, like telling people how I feel, my problems or whatnot. I've even started to go to my mom a little bit more about it too, right?
Yeah.
But like with you, it's like every single thing, like just raw. Like
Yeah.
here's what's going on, right?
Yeah.
With other people, I might sugarcoat it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a little bit of a transition of how having to know that I'm not always going to be able to be the happy person on the other side of the phone. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's definitely something that I've had to learn to just learn about myself. That I also need to talk to people about
Mhm.
shit that's going on.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being there.
Thanks for being there for me too.
I try. You're
Um,
welcome.
yeah, I think it comes from like being in a house. Look, I
What?
love the way that I was raised. I am
Uh
proud of
huh.
my parents. I am thankful for my
Mhm.
parents and all that they have done for me. But like
Mhm.
looking back at my childhood, like we didn't really talk about emotions and feelings and
Mhm.
things like that,
Mhm.
right? It was always kind of like, lo vas a hacer porque te estoy diciendo que lo vas a hacer,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where, like, my parents, they had this mentality and like it trips me out, right? Because I talk to people that are like in similar in my age and like they were like, no,
Mhm.
my parents were like, you know? And I think
Mhm.
with my parents, like, yes, they forced us to do things and like they had us like doing things, but there was
Mhm.
a sense of like, ¿cómo decirlo? Like individuality, kind of.
Okay.
Like where my sister might perform a task one way, I might perform a task a different way, but like my parents weren't like, no, 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 that you have to do it this way,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
I
Not to be
think,
cookie cutter with everything.
yeah.
Mhm.
My parents raised three kids, and
Mhm.
you know, yes, they had similar boundaries and like
Right.
rules for
Mhm.
us, but they also allowed us to kind of test our own limitations,
Of course.
and allowed us to fail and then to figure out the solution,
Mhm.
which I am like completely thankful for, right? But I think in
Mhm.
that also, I wish that they would have given us a little bit more space to express how we're feeling or like where those emotions are coming from.
Mhm.
But I think as an adult, we recognize, like, well, I don't know about my brother because I don't think I've ever had this conversation with him, but like, at least with like me and my sister, we're like, we have to be able to talk about things and like, we have to be
Yeah.
able to identify those emotions and like, and work through them. And,
Mhm.
um, so yeah, I forgot what my point was.
No, I mean, I think you're just talking about how within your family, like you guys weren't necessarily told you can't express. Maybe.
Yeah. I we were never told like you can't express yourself or
Mhm.
whatever. Like that was never
Mhm.
said, but it was also just like never an open conversation,
Yeah. You never
you
knew you
know?
could express yourself.
Yeah. And it wasn't until I was adult where I was like, "Man, today I'm struggling." I tell my mom,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, my dad still kind of puts on the mentality of like, "You just got to get it done." And I'm like,
Uh huh.
"It's not that simple." You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
I really wonder like how like our kids are gonna grow up, and the kids of the future generations, just knowing that everything is a lot more like open. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like just gonna be interesting to see how these dynamics work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want to transition a little bit more into mental health here.
Sure.
Okay. Not that I have like a set question to kick off with, right? Because
Okay.
it's mental health is all part of it, right?
Okay.
Um, okay, how do you feel mental health is different than self care, or like what individualizes those things? What do you do for mental health? Like how do we separate them first?
I think mental health is the availability that your mind has to take on information. And
Interesting.
I think using, right, not just to take on information in the sense of like processing emotions, dealing with things that might like upset you and like not being so
Okay.
reactive, things like that, right?
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think self-care is the thing that allows us to take on those capacities,
Okay.
if
So
that
how
makes
do you
sense.
expand your mental capacity to process things?
We use self-care to do that. We use grounding. We use time for ourselves to process what's already in our mind,
Mhm.
to process that information and to just kind of like say like, okay, I sat with this and I'm okay with it and it's off of my
Mhm.
plate.
Mhm.
You know?
I know.
Does it bother you that like my answers are so short or what?
No, 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 no. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I just like I don't know how to ask the questions because like okay, um, like let's say self care. Not I don't want to say in my opinion, but when I think about self care, right?
Mhm.
Okay, gonna do my nails, right? Gonna go to dinner from by myself, blah blah blah, right? And
Mhm.
these are all like physical things, right?
Okay.
That I am doing, right?
Okay.
And I feel like when the topic of mental health, although yes, it is like okay, learning how to process these emotions and whatnot. Um, Mental health takes into play into it takes into consideration depression, anxiety, and all those things, which I feel like are a step, I guess, more serious than just like oh, I'm gonna go get my nails done. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So when it comes to and I know this is a podcast about chasing your dreams and whatnot, right? So I mean, we can say like when it comes to the depression of like you were saying earlier, I'm not where I want to be, right?
Mhm.
Or the anxiety of how am I going to get to where I want to be because my options are running out? Like how do we attack maybe like that level of anxiety
Mhm.
or that depression of like working on our mental health towards our goals, let's
Mhm.
make it right, because I am no expert, you a lot more expert than me, right? But
But
like
this is not me giving advice.
okay, okay, right, right, right. And like but like I didn't want to like hit so much because I'm not an expert of the depression and anxiety when it comes to like life events, life emotions,
Mhm.
like a lot more serious things, right?
Mhm.
But we can keep it like kind of the depression and like those type of emotions when it comes to I'm not achieving what I want to achieve, I'm not where I want to be, I don't know if I'll
Mhm.
be able to get there. How do we attack those thoughts? Like
I think so that's like a loaded question, right?
all right,
Because
you can unload it.
um there is a root for depression. There is a root for anxiety, right? Whether it's a an imbalance in like the hormones, is it hormones?
Okay.
You know, whether it's
Your chemicals,
chemistry,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, or whether it's something that you feel within yourself,
Mhm.
there's a root, right? And so what ends up happening is that we as clinicians begin to assist our client to identify the root of that problem, right?
Okay.
And so we start to like peel back a layer at
Okay.
a time.
Mhm.
And with peeling back those layers, the goal is to assist the client in finding
Mhm.
ways to cope with those triggers, right?
Mhm.
So let's say I have a client who has a lot of negative self-talk, right?
Okay.
And the first thing that my client does, again, this is not a real client, this is just an imaginary
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Mhm.
I am not giving out therapeutic advice. This is just us having a conversation. This is a
Mhm.
disclaimer.
Mhm.
No professional help here, at least in this
Mhm.
setting.
Mhm.
So don't come after me. Um, but like, so I have a client, right, who has a lot of
Mhm.
negative self-talk.
Okay.
And she puts herself down a lot.
Mhm.
Let's say that's the root of the problem, right?
Okay.
And because of that, she started, I don't know, she got an eating disorder, right?
Okay.
So she went in for the eating disorder, but then we find out that the root of the problem is her negative self-talk and her low self-esteem.
Okay.
So my goal is to first heal the eating disorder, right? Showing her like how to repair her relationship with food, and then also
Mhm.
showing her how to repair her relationship with herself, right?
Mhm.
And encouraging her to tell me, I'm not going to tell her like, "Hey, tell me 10 things you love about yourself."
Right.
No, that's not going to work.
Mhm.
That's too much.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's something more simple, right? Like tell me one good thing about you this week. Like,
Mhm.
what's something that you were proud of your body for doing this week? What's something that you were
Mhm.
proud of yourself for doing this week or this
Mhm.
month? Right?
Mhm.
Giving her a larger time frame to do so, to
Mhm.
recognize that she is doing something beneficial, right? And then eventually
Mhm.
adding on, like, okay, like when you're feeling upset or like you feel like you're not worthy, I want you to repeat to yourself a mantra, right? Whatever that mantra could be.
Mhm.
I've heard like from other clinicians that like they've practiced mantras with their clients and they've done like Beyonce's like Who Run the World?
Mhm.
Like Who Run the
What are
World? Girls.
mantras?
Like just a phrase that you can repeat to yourself or songs that you can repeat
Okay.
to yourself to like ground you and
Okay.
that like motivate you. And so like
Mhm.
one of the clients was like her song was Who Run the World Girls, and so she would
Mhm.
repeat that to
Mhm.
herself when she was
Mhm.
feeling the moments of like anxiety or
Mhm.
low self-esteem.
Okay.
So that's something that I would do with her, right? I think it's
Okay.
when it comes to the mental health, it's and going into therapy, it's showing clients healthier coping mechanisms to deal with the moments that make them feel inadequate, right?
Okay.
Because sitting there and being like, oh, you're going to go to therapy and you're going to be healed. No,
Right.
that's not
Mhm.
therapy. Therapy
Mhm.
is there to show you that you yourself have the capacity to deal with whatever comes your way. And
Mhm.
you
You're gonna
learn
heal
those.
yourself. I'm just kind of showing you how to
Yes,
do it. Mhm.
yes.
Okay. So, do you feel like healing yourself would be let's take this imaginary client, right? That has the eating disorder and the root of it is negative self-talk, right? And let's say that imaginary client has a dream of starting a small business, okay? Do you feel like with people that are trying to follow a dream that healing themselves and their mindset has to be like their first step on this journey? Or do you like that question, like do you feel like this has to be a big enough thing to where you have to do this first or else your journey to your dream may not succeed?
I think it depends on if it's deterring you,
Mhm.
right? So, self disclosure, there are these moments of there are these moments of like inadequacy
Mhm.
within myself, right?
Mhm.
And not to say that it's because I don't like it's there are these moments of inadequacy, right, within
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
And I feel like in order for me to achieve the nonprofit, in order for me to
Mhm.
achieve the doctorate, I have to work through that to get there, right? I have
Okay.
to because I don't want these feelings of inadequacy within myself to prevent me from moving forward,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
However, there are some people who feel anxiety when it comes to like I don't know. I don't have an example for that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it depends. This is what I'm gonna say, right? I think it
Okay.
depends. I think there are some people who can just like get up and go and they can just do it without coping or like dealing with things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that like if it's going to deter you and it's going to like create stops along the way, I think you have to process it. I think I feel that it is necessary for you to work through those emotions or work through those
Mm-hmm.
feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like at least in my example of myself, like I have to keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as like for the client, the imaginary client with like the eating disorder and the negative self-talk, if she can't believe in herself to get the business partner or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that she needs to deal with the negative self-talk before she really completes that goal.
Okay.
Because I think that it can create, if she doesn't, I think that it could create some feelings of that she didn't complete it the way that she wanted to
Mm-hmm.
within herself.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't allow her to kind of like fully embrace the fact that she achieved her goal or her dream, you know?
Okay. Mm-hmm. I want to ask, and this is a conversation just to my friend Sam here, right? Because you were self-disclosing, so like, not even self-disclosing because we all know this. You know that I am somebody who like easily gives up on stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes not sometimes, I feel like it's always been like, because I was telling you before we started recording, I feel like I have a weak mind, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
like it's not rooted in something strong. I don't know how to describe it, right? But for example, with the DJing thing in February last year, right? I could be posting videos, right, doing great, 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 and then if I see enough other people doing it and succeeding, or enough people saying like, "Oh, this isn't going to go anywhere," I'll eventually give up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also works the opposite way to where, like, for example, the film that I was telling you about, right? There were some lawyers in this documentary, right? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. Like, I want to be a lawyer, right? I'm not gonna be a lawyer, okay? Like, I know that, right? But like, I feel like my mind is just very easily persuaded,
Mm-hmm.
negatively and positively, to where like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're not gonna do that, give up. Okay, I give up. Oh, you could do this. Okay, let me try to do this, but I'm just gonna give up a few weeks later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you feel like, Sam just telling me, how do you feel like that's something that can be worked on to like grow the strength of your decisions and your actions and like your mentality towards things?
I think that comes from believing in the initial decision that you made.
Mhm.
Because taking this podcast, for example,
Mhm.
we've been doing this for 5 months now, right?
This month will be 5, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been doing this for 5 months. I
Mhm.
think this is the longest. Is it
Mhm.
the longest that you've kept with it?
With a dream?
With a podcast?
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let's looking at the one that you did on your own and looking at this
Mhm.
one,
Mhm.
taking the fact that I am doing it with you, the
Mhm.
biggest thing that I've noticed is that you have a hope for
Mhm.
this one to become something greater,
Mhm.
right? You wholeheartedly believe that.
Mhm.
I think when it comes to your other dreams, you initially start with this hope, but
Mhm.
then you start talking yourself out of it because it's not at the rate that you want it to happen.
Okay.
Your success is not at the rate that you want it to happen.
Mhm.
And I think that for you really deters you because you're like, I'm doing everything that I need to do, but I'm not seeing a result.
Mhm.
And so you're very much so like you have to. Like when we had talked about it, the not reinforcement. What is it called? What is it called?
I don't know.
We talked about it. Oh my God. What is it called?
What are
The
you
reward.
trying?
The
Okay, okay,
reward?
okay. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry,
You
sorry.
get me?
Mhm.
Like for you gratification. That's the word. That's the word. Okay. So like for
Okay.
you rely a lot on instant
Instant gratification.
gratification.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
You do. And so if you
Mhm.
don't get that instant gratification, then you tend to
Mhm.
deter yourself and be like, "Oh, I'm not doing it. It's not right."
Mhm.
And I feel like with this one, with this podcast, I kind of keep you grounded, not to say,
Mhm.
in the sense that like
Mhm.
this is gonna take time, and then
Mhm.
that it isn't gonna be something that happens overnight. And then you also remind
Mhm.
yourself too that like this also isn't going to be something that's gonna happen overnight. We're building a fan
Mhm.
base, like we're building a
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
It takes time for this. Um, so yeah. I think for
You're not
you it's
wrong.
that instant
Mhm.
gratification. That's your biggest thing, I feel. And then also there might be some self-esteem things too.
Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe that's something I need to work on, right? But in regards to this podcast, yes, I think that like I haven't had like a down phase of it, right? Because like we are doing this together, right? Um and also I love DJing, right? Um but I feel like since this podcast is about something that like I genuinely love, since this podcast is about something that like I genuinely love, like talking about dreams and whatnot, right? That it also helps with knowing that like you know what, like this is gonna take a little bit longer to grow into something if it does. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, which by the way, it's a good segue because I had um a statistic, right?
Okay.
Did you know that on average most podcasters quit before episode 8? By the way, this one will be episode 12, okay? And
Woo!
and that 90% quit after 20 episodes. So we start to make it to 20, right? But I was literally just talking to Gabby about this earlier, and I
Mhm.
was like, I just feel like statistically, like, even like we keep going, right? Even if it takes us 5 years or whatever, like, it's just there will be, like I said, I have a hope that this will turn into something, right? And it's not because I want it to be the number one podcast, it's because I want to build that community with you where we get to create change, right? And
Yeah.
like I feel like that's gonna be the success of the podcast, being able to
Yeah.
create change, right?
Mhm.
Um, but go ahead.
No, I agree 100%. I want this podcast to be the space donde todos pueden venir y pueden hablar, ¿verdad? No nomás de sus historias, pero también de las quejas, de los problemas, de
Mhm.
you know, the successes and all of that, right?
Mhm.
I want this space to be the space where people can come and see like, okay, ellos también sufrieron, pero todavía lo podrían hacer, right?
Yeah.
Or, oh, they didn't have, a back, or not a back, hold on. They didn't have like a support system or something like
Uh-huh.
that, but they still achieved this goal, right? They still
Mhm.
did this, right?
Mhm.
They didn't know how to navigate the Cal State system or the education system,
Mhm.
but they still
Mhm.
became a lawyer, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that's what I want. And if we, right, can find that encouragement or give that encouragement to somebody else, even if it's just one
Mhm.
person,
Mhm.
I'm happy. For me, that's a
Success.
success,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, on that note, Um, Please like, follow, and subscribe, I feel. And interact with us, please. You
Honestly,
guys,
I can't blame anybody because I have not been doing my part of posting
facts.
more. You know what I mean? I'm still really trying to work that into my life. But yes, still trying to build a community, guys. You know that's the goal.
Yes.
And we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're always
Mm-hmm.
gonna know that Des was number one.
Yep.
Um
Jasmine was number two.
yeah. But going back to what you're saying about that maybe there's like some self confidence issues and whatnot, right? Like there probably are because there's always the like, oh, am I even good enough for this, right? Like, oh, do I even deserve this, right? So I do feel like it is like actively something that I have to work on to like
Mm.
get my mindset right and do some more self-care in my life because like we were saying earlier, I'm really big to tell somebody else like, hey, take a day off, go do this, right? But like I'm not doing that myself.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode was more of a I know I need to start doing this in my life as well to see the benefits of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I
Okay.
agree.
Well, it's really good. Do you want to do your dreamer or do you want me to do mine?
I could do mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
We're moving into our dreamer of the day, guys.
We should do like a little intro to that one too. Like put the music in there,
Uh-huh.
you know?
All right,
Just
guys. Now we're going to move into our dreamer of the day.
okay, he was born, it's a boy or a guy,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
He was
Mhm.
born February 27th, 1947. He was born in the
Okay.
USA.
Mhm.
He's a Mexican heritage actor. He's best known as Marty in Miami Vice and as James Escalante in Stand and Deliver. Is this George Lopez,
Oh,
Edward
okay, go
James
ahead.
Olmos, or Lou Diamond Phillips?
Okay, so it's not going to be George Lopez because there's no way that he would be known for those other stuff and not his comedy or his George Lopez show. Plus, he was definitely not born in the 40s. I have no idea who the other two guys are, but I'm going to go with B.
It is B. It's Edward James Olmos. Yeah.
Okay, what is he's an actor?
He's an actor. Yeah, he was in
I have
Miami
to look him
Vice,
up.
like the OG Miami Vice, and
Mhm.
then Stand and Deliver. He also played. Did he play? I think he also played Selena's dad in the movie.
He
I
is in
believe
Selena's
so.
movie. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Dang. I honestly I have had to have seen him around.
I'm sure you have.
I've had to. Man. Okay. Well, thank you for our dreamer. I want you to know for the next episode, I did not give answer choices because we never say yes or no to the answer choices. Okay. But thank you so much for you guys listening. Remember
Mm-hmm.
to follow us on Instagram, comment on
Yep.
YouTube, like subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever. You guys know that y'all are with us at the start of this, and we're only gonna go up. So,
Mm-hmm.
Sam, anything
Like,
else you want to say?
yeah. Thank you guys for allowing us the space to do this. Appreciate you all. Like, comment, subscribe, share too. We need more
Yeah, send us to
people.
your friends.
Yeah. Be like, oh, Sammy was like picking her nose or whatever. Or
What
look
the
at this
fuck?
girl. She looks so weird picking her eye. Um,
What the fuck? Listen to the whole thing, but she picks her eye at some point.
but yeah.
Yes. Always thank you
Um,
guys for
yeah.
being here and for being here with us. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.